What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com, and this is going to be a good one. We're going to be diving into having a healthier relationship with food. I'm actually really excited about this one. Mark and I are going to be going back and forth just to really make sure that we do what we have to do as coaches to helping you guys have a healthier relationship with food. You guys are going to be hearing from me from a personal experience when I tried doing certain diets and different things out that, how it really had a negative effect on my overall lifestyle, but also the relationship that I had with certain foods. And at the end of the day, we always like to say it like this: is food equals fuel, right? If let's just say you're putting gasoline into a car, it's going to help that car get from point A to point B. Well, what most people need to understand is that with their body, how food works, it's the same thing, right? We're all trying to reach our goals. We're all trying to have success. And treating food and having this healthier relationship with food is a great way for two aspects. One, giving our bodies enough of the right food, aka fuel, to help give us energy, to help speed up our metabolism, help us burn more body fat. But also second is when we learn how to have a healthier relationship with food, we can learn how to really apply the 80-20 rule. And that's what we really go over at Heartletics, where you can learn how to have the foods and the different drinks that you truly want to have something that's going to be sustainable for you overall. So with that being said, let me do a screen share here and we'll dive right into the episode. Mark, can you see this okay?
I sure can.
Beautiful, brother. Why don't you go ahead and give everybody the quick little, conversation on what we're going to be going into, and most importantly, why we're going to be talking about, having a healthier relationship with food real quick before we get into the details.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important to understand that having a healthy relationship with food means all foods. There's no food that should not be, included in your diet. It makes no healthy sense to completely eliminate any food group, and that's really what we're going to talk about today. The term, right, orthorexia, it was coined in 1998, and it refers to an obsession with proper or healthful eating. And it's important, right? We all want to be aware. We want to be concerned with the nutritional quality of our food, of what we're eating. And that's normal, right? That's a safe and sensible way to be. But orthorexia means when you've become so fixated on this so-called healthy style of eating that you're actually, doing things that damage your own well-being. So you can see here, orthorexia is defined as an obsession with eating foods that one considers healthy, and a medical condition in which the sufferer systematically avoids specific foods in the belief that they are harmful. So cutting out any food group in particular can lead to disordered eating. Complete elimination of any food group, right, is going to give you a poor relationship with food. You're finding some foods is good, some foods is bad, and that's not what we want to do. So you're also going to be eliminating certain required nutritional elements by eliminating food groups. You're going to limit fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants that all provide important health benefits and contribute to your well-being. So you may be cutting out some calories, but you're also cutting out important nutrients that there are other ways to keep yourself in that calorie deficit and still supply those needed nutrients. You can see here, right, where it talks about, sort of a comparison here in terms of the difference between healthy eating habits and what we call orthorexia, right? So, healthy eating habits, right? Yeah, sure, you monitor your intake of fat, sugar, salt, limit your artificial ingredients, but orthorexia are completely cutting out something, viewing it as unhealthy to have it at all. The normal healthy eating habits are going to try, different diets, try different things, clean eating. But orthorexia, right, you're going to spend excessive amounts of time fixating on, what foods I can eat, what foods I can't eat. So you get the general idea there, right? You're kind of, it's normal to think about, planning, meals, or thinking about, like I always talk about food Tetris, right? Plotting out what things are going to get you to your nutritional goals. That's normal. But to spend hours on food prep and have anxiety over, what you're eating, that's not normal. So, you can all remember, right, like a newspaper article, suggesting that you follow like a restrictive diet, cut out something in particular, like carbs is always an example, right? Cut out carbs, that you're going to lose weight. But what these, kind of fad diets don't really reveal is what happens, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, when you go back to normal and you find yourself going back to the way you were before, because, these weight loss plans are not sustainable, and they're also not true fat burning. You're losing water from not having carbs, et cetera. So they're not really getting you where you want to be. And when you drastically cut, calories, and ditch certain food groups, right? You're causing your metabolism to slow down, which is the opposite of what we want. And that's not great for, long-term weight maintenance, for long-term results. So some signs that you have an unhealthy relationship with food, right? Shame or guilt when eating certain foods that you're defining as off limits to yourself, overeating, without even realizing that that's what you're doing, eating when you're not hungry, responsive eating, meaning, eating in response to emotions, right? Emotions should not, be like the trigger for your eating habits. Calories or macros, should not determine how, specific, how you feel about if your day good or bad. In general, right, you've tried, numerous diets, and you had that yo-yo effect that, that's a sign that you have an unhealthy relationship with food. The food choices should not be considered as a reflection of who you are. You shouldn't need to avoid eating around others, and you shouldn't have anxiety or stress about, when you're going out, what food is going to be available to you. So all of this is signs of an unhealthy relationship with food. And what it really boils down to is just, stressing over feeling that there are food categories that are bad. No one food category should be eliminated. It's really just about having that knowledge, right, about, how much of each food category works for your body type and goals. That's really what it boils down to. Nothing should be eliminated. Carbs, right, are a perfect example. Everyone talks about, cutting carbs, but there's a lot of benefits to carbs that are important for your development. And if you cut them completely, you're going to miss out, right? Fiber. If you don't consume enough fiber, which is likely if you're not eating any carbs, things like whole grains, fruits, vegetables, starchy ones, those are great sources of fiber, and they're carbs, right? And so if you're, kind of missing out on that, right, you're missing out on energy, sleep, disease prevention. But, in particular, right, carbohydrates are your brain's preferred source of energy. Scientists, estimate that the brain consumes roughly about 120 grams of carbs daily, and that's 20% of your total energy expenditure that you're burning throughout the day. So not having carbs, right, leads to like brain fog, cloudiness, that kind of like, that lack of drive, that lack of oomph, because you're kind of just feeling floaty is what I like to call it. Carbs, contribute to muscle building too, right? People think, protein is the be all and end all. And of course, protein is very important. I'm not saying it's not, but, carbs are important too. They, your body converts them to glycogen, which is the stored form of the carbohydrate. And that gets stockpiled in your muscles. And you use that glycogen, right, when you need that quick energy boost, or if you're not getting enough energy, from the glucose in your cells. And that really comes in handy too, right, when you're doing your workouts, heavy lifting without enough stored carbs, you're going to feel that fatigue. You're going to feel, weaker. So, that's kind of why it's, eliminating carbs completely just does not make practical sense for you. And they're also used in repairing the muscles as well. The general consensus is that, when you have some carbs right after exercise, that's going to, to replenish your glycogen, right? That's going to limit some post-exercise muscle damage, some soreness. It's going to help you kind of recover. So all of that is key. And then fats too, right? Everyone's like, oh, look, I'm not saying you should be eating, tons and tons of fats, but you do need some. It's an important part of your diet. It's going to help you lower the risk of heart disease, prevent abnormal heart rhythms. It helps lower blood pressure, triglycerides, if you're eating the right, fats, prevent hardening of the arteries. So again, just another example of, these diets that say, don't have any fat. Well, that's not acceptable either. That's not a healthy, sustainable approach.
Yeah. And guys, you already know, like, what we mainly focus on is something sustainable. And this is why I want to put in the next slide here is just like, what should you be focused on? Well, for one, how you look, mirror clothes. So taking the number of the scale just off the equation. At the end of the day, most people, they want to lose weight just to see the number on the scale go down. So they'll do these drastic measures, right? Maybe cutting out carbs, maybe cutting out their fats, maybe crash dieting or, whatever the case may be, that might lead to an unhealthy relationship with food just because they want to see the numbers on the scale go down. But in terms, you need to be focused on what's most important. And that's obviously how you look, right? How you feel. And most importantly, what's enjoyable and what's sustainable. So personally for me, right, I don't know about many of you guys, but I tried a low carb diet. In fact, I tried what's called a ketogenic diet. And that's not just cutting out your sugar, cutting out your fried foods, cutting out, your rice and your breads. I mean, legit having, 75% of your daily calories coming from fats, 20% coming from your 20% coming from your protein, and 5% coming from your carbohydrates, coming from like fibrous carbohydrates. So just like vegetables and fruits. And I'm peeing on the little ketone strips, right? Making sure I'm in ketosis, thinking it's the end all be all, right? Listen, it was great. I got great results. But at the end of the day, like horrible relationship with food, plain and simple. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I remember specifically like certain times where like, I mean, I'm a donut connoisseur here. My whole entire family is. We love donuts. Like going to a donut shop and not being able to get a donut and walking in smelling fresh glazed donuts was torture. Knowing I can't eat this stuff because it's going to kick me out of ketosis, right? After I did my 6 months strict of keto, right, it was all about trying to, okay, well, how do I go back to eating carbohydrates again? And if nobody really tells you this, but you have to slowly really make sure that you monitor your carbohydrate intake because your body's fuel sources are way off. It's used to going off of fat sources as opposed to glycogen, carbohydrates. So having way too many carbs in abundance at first, hey, guess what? Your body just doesn't instantly utilize that as energy. No, it's going to store it as body fat. So you have to slowly but surely. And so what that did was really hurt me in the long scheme of things, which was having a healthier relationship with food. It hindered that. One, it wasn't really enjoyable for me. Like, sure, like eating bacon and eggs and all this grease is cool at first, but eventually it gets pretty old fast and you feel greasy half the time. And then two, it wasn't sustainable because it didn't really work best with my lifestyle. And on the flip side, I tried a low fat diet, right? High carb, high protein, and very, very low fat. Guess what? Like my energy levels tanked, right? Because hormonally, just like how Mark said, your body needs fats. It's essential. Does it need an abundance of fats? Absolutely not. So like, what is the best answer here? Well, hey, it's figuring out what is something that's enjoyable for you and sustainable. And don't just focus on, the trying to reach your goals tomorrow and giving rid of what you want long-term. What you want long-term is something where you can reach your goals and sustain that and enjoy that, right? Most guys, they want to try to cut out everything in between to reach their goals tomorrow. But then what's the point when next week you're falling back and going back to your old ways? So having a healthy relationship with food is one of the big principles that we talk over at Heartletics with our 80-20 principle. And that is just simply, 80% of the foods that you're consuming, hey, these are the foods that's going to help you move the needle, get you one step closer to your goals, plain and simple. But 20% of the time, it's okay to have those sanity foods. It's okay to have some alcohol. It's okay to have some cheesecake. It's okay to have some beer and some pizza here and there. It's perfectly fine, right? We talk about the good wolf and the bad wolf. And at the end of the day, whoever wins the war at the end of the day is the one that you feed the most. Well, hey, there's 365 days in a year. So let's just count off 65 days as holidays, cheat days, days you fell off the wagon, right? Sickness, illness, whatever the case may be. You still have a bucket of 300 days that you can be pretty consistent with. And as long as you can do that year over year, you will progress. And obviously with anything, consistency is key. The results that you see here from these men, these are the guys that, hey, when life threw them curveballs, they still stepped up to the plate. They didn't let it define them and then throw in the white towel and quitting and go back to their old ways. They still showed up, right? Despite, right, losing weight or not that week, they still put in the effort and they still put one foot in front of the other. And that's why we always talk about just 1% better each and every day. That's the Heartletics way. And let's go into something special that me, Mark, and Jimmy have been kind of working on. And that's really formalizing like what really is a 3-step fat loss formula. And we mapped it out to be just like the 3 A's, honestly. And what is that? That's acquisition, application, and accountability. And I promise you this, that if you just understand how this fat loss pyramid works, it's going to make the world of a difference for you. So one, acquisition. What does that mean? Well, you got to acquire the knowledge, plain and simple. And like, that's what we focus on a lot of Heartletics. It's coaching, it's teaching. It's not, hey, eat like this, do these workouts, peace out, Girl Scout, we'll see you in 12 weeks. No, it's helping you each and every step of the way, right? Acquire that knowledge. Knowledge is power at the end of the day. If you knew the benefits of protein, if you knew the benefits about sleep and recovery and managing stress, right? It's an importance. You acquire that knowledge, you're going to have a more sense of awareness. So acquisition is the foundation. You need to acquire that knowledge. The second up on the list is, application. And this is where our coaching really comes into handy with like check-ins, the 24/7 support, the amazing community group that we have at Heartletics, where how do we acquire, right, that knowledge and then apply it in a form of habits? Because when you're able to apply the habits into someone's lifestyle, it makes it very easy. So easy. It's just like, hey, most of us are all adults, right? We probably haven't rode a bike in a while, but I'm pretty sure if someone gave us a bike, we can figure that out, right? Because somebody taught us. Somebody taught us how to drive. Somebody taught us how to ride a bike. Somebody taught us how to work. Somebody taught us how to brush our teeth. If we ever missed a day or two, or maybe even a week, right? Because we got bad hygiene habits or whatever the case may be. It's pretty easy for someone to pick up a toothbrush, put toothpaste on it, and go back to, brushing their pearly whites. That's how we want to make it within all you guys at Heartletics, is applying these habits to where if you ever fall off the wagon, hey, you don't need to risk, just doing fasting or cutting out your carbs or not eating anything the next day or tons and tons of cardio to try to offset things. No, just go right back to picking up the toothbrush and brushing your teeth, making it part of your habit. And then lastly, right, this is the tip of the iceberg, but this is what really helps out formulate everything with the success pyramid is accountability. At the end of the day, like this is why we love the community group so much, because everybody's holding each other accountable. Everybody's helping everybody every step of the way. But it's just like if you're going out to war, nobody wants to go out to war all by themselves. Small little pistol, right? Like you need people in your corner. You can't play a basketball game 1 against 5. You're not going to win. Just like if you went out to war all by yourself, realistically, you're probably not going to win unless you're like James Bond or something like that. I don't know. But like, I know for me, I'm not going to have success. And so when you have guys in your corner that's there to hold you accountable, but also be there to support you and pick you up on those days where you did feed the bad wolf, you did fall off the wagon, it's going to help you so much so to getting right back on track. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed today's little episode going over having a healthier relationship with food. Hey, if you did, and you want more information and you're listening to this from the outside looking in, we got some helpful resources for you. For starters, number one, a free fat loss guide. You guys can find that over at heartletics.com. That's going to go over the 7 essential fat loss habits for success. Number two, hey, go check out the podcast. The best way to honestly listen to that and check it out is going over to the YouTube page, because I'm also posting other videos in there. And I would say, hey, do me a favor, subscribe if you haven't already, just simply that way you never miss another future episode. And then lastly, if what you find here resonated with you and maybe you've been struggling with your health and fitness goals for quite some time, you want to learn how to, acquire that knowledge, apply it to your lifestyle, and have people in your corner to help hold you accountable, you can always just simply go to heartletics.com, schedule a free assessment call, speak with either, Mark, Jimmy, or somebody from my team, or even myself, and just see what we can do to kind of help you achieve success at reaching your goals. And that's the main mission, is help guys live better, healthier lifestyles, and make the world a better place. So with that being said, hope you guys all have a great day. Enjoy today's episode. And as always, it's been Coach Joe, Coach Mark with Heartletics Podcast. Peace out, Girl Scouts.